welcome to The Firm. On the show this week, leniency or amnesty is the best route to producing hard evidence in cartelization cases. Manappuram tells you how you can hold one share and still get a seat on the company board. The Competition Commission of India's cartelization order against 11 cement companies has been the subject of much debate since it was put out. Now, the 6,600 crore rupee penalty was a headline grabber for sure. But equally important was the reliance on circumstantial evidence to establish the charge of cartelization. And it is this lack of hard evidence that prompted us to look overseas to examine how cartelization cases have been proven elsewhere in the world. Now, as Paiswini Upadhyay told USA, Europe and Australia, she discovered that successful prosecutions by competition regulators have often relied on hard evidence made available by insiders.
The popular mind is agitated with problems that may disturb social order. And among them all, none is more threatening than the concentration of capital into vast combinations. Congress alone can deal with them. And if we are unwilling or unable, there will soon be a trust for every product and a master to fix the price for every necessity of life.
And so, with the intention to curb monopolies and cartels that threatened free markets, the United States pioneered competition law in the form of the Sherman Antitrust Act in 1890.
The U.S. is the lead jurisdiction with respect to cartel law enforcement. It dates back to 1890 when the Sherman Act was passed, and very shortly after that, in 1892, was the first case relating to a conspiracy or an illegal agreement in restraint of trade. And since then, there have been numerous cases, but since the mid-90s, there has been a rapid increase in cartel prosecution, mainly because of the changes in the law or policy with respect to the leniency program as it's described.
USA's leniency program dates back to 1978, under which cartel participants were given immunity from criminal prosecution. But this immunity was not automatic, and the Department of Justice retained substantial discretion. The response was tepid. So, in 1993, the department expanded this amnesty program to incentivize companies to cooperate with investigations. The key changes included automatic amnesty for a company if there was no pre-existing investigation. The Antitrust Division also extended the program to those who cooperated after an investigation had started. Employees who agreed to cooperate also received automatic amnesty. The changes did wonders to USA's anti-cartel regime.
The government gives amnesty to any participant in a cartel other than the ringleader who voluntarily identifies the existence of the cartel to the Justice Department. That means that there will be no criminal fine or penalty for the organization, and it also means that current employees and executives will not be subject to prison time. That's a major incentive for a company when it discovers it's a participant in a cartel to self-identify to the government and confess its participation. The net result of that is many cartels are revealed by participants. Indeed, of the $6 billion in fines the government's collected in the last 15 years, about 90% of those fines are directly attributable to the amnesty program and to participants in the program.
The amnesty or leniency program has often allowed for the Antitrust Division to collect enough evidence to prove the cartelization charge. In some cases, dramatic evidence.
One of the most celebrated cartel investigations the government has done is the feed additives investigation, which involved ADM many years ago, where an executive from ADM agreed to wear a wire and agreed to advise the government where cartel meetings were occurring, so that the government actually installed cameras and videotaped meetings among cartel members. That video has been shown in any number of public fora, and it's very striking and very dramatic evidence of an active cartel.
Besides the leniency program, the Antitrust Division's work has also been aided by other powers such as search and seizure or dawn raids, powers shared by the European Competition Commission as well, and used to good effect in the gas market case.
In 2009, surprise inspections carried out by the Commission led to a fine of 1.1 billion euros in the energy sector. The case involved German utility E.ON and its French competitor GDF Suez, who agreed not to sell imported natural gas to each other's home markets after jointly building a pipeline from Russia to Western Europe.
The gas market case I mentioned earlier, for instance, that was a situation where the Commission was looking into the market anyway, and it found evidence to suggest there was cartel activities, so it launched its own investigation. And there are only two parties involved, and neither of them applied for immunity as far as I know. So in that situation, the Commission would be relying solely on its ability to launch dawn raids, turn up on premises, collect documents, and require evidence from the relevant parties.
But the gas market case is among a handful in which the ECC had no help from the inside. Otherwise, just like in the US, most of Europe's successful cartel investigations have also been aided by a leniency program. Take the 1.3 billion euro Carglass case. An anonymous tip-off led to an investigation against 4 companies accused of discussing target prices, market sharing and customer allocation in a series of meetings. One of the 4 companies, Asahi, cooperated with the ECC and got a 50% reduction in penalty under the leniency notice. Similarly, the cartel investigation by the ECC against elevator and escalator manufacturers in Belgium, Germany, Luxembourg and the Netherlands was a success because Kohn took recourse to the immunity program.
We've had an amnesty program in the EU for a long time now. It's the exact way it's structured was changed in 2006, but it was a program before that. It's been hugely effective. I would say almost all cases involve an amnesty, immunity or leniency applicant in some form. And what tends to happen is you have the dawn raid first of all, and then you then have quite often a race for immunity because the first person through the door gets 100% immunity off the fine.
The second applicant claiming immunity gets a 50% reduction in fine, and the last band is 20%. The immunity program has helped the ECC collect over 18 billion euros in cartelization fines over the last 20 years.
In 1990, United States was the only country that had a leniency program. Today, over 50 jurisdictions have amnesty provisions for cartelization cases. The Australian experience is similar to that of US and Europe, an effective leniency regime to disclose cartel behavior. Sometimes that has meant one participant turning against the other when only 2 of them existed as a cartel.
Visy and Amcor shared 90% of the $1.2 billion cardboard box market in Australia. Between 2000 to 2004, the 2 companies conspired to raise prices of their products while maintaining their respective market shares. But then, Amcor's management decided to share this information with the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission.
It's an interesting case because the lawyers for Amcor at the time were looking at some documents relating to, I think it was an employment dispute. And in looking at those documents, they came across this information about the cartel, and they notified the client, and the client went to the ACCC and sought immunity. Amcor and Visy had about 90% of the market at the time, so they were the 2 key competitors. And the ACCC brought the case against Visy. It didn't bring the case against Amcor because they had immunity. And ultimately Visy was fined $36 million in terms of the company for engaging in cartel conduct.
India is only now recognizing the benefits a leniency program can bring to establishing cartel. This week, as we were putting this story together, the CCI advertised for the first time its leniency program, promising both immunity and confidentiality.
But will leniency work as well in India? Experts say that the Competition Act does not mandate immunity to informants. Unless the CCI clarifies this position, insiders may not be forthcoming with hard evidence, and CCI may have to rely upon its own investigation abilities to collect direct evidence or pray that circumstantial evidence will pass muster. In Mumbai, Vaishwini Upadhyay.
Give amnesty, get concrete evidence. The question is, will CCI make that international experience work in its favor? Talking of favors, coming up next. Manappuram tells you how you can hold one share and still get a seat on the company board.